Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining our program today. My name is Osamu Sakura, the team leader of Science and Technology and Society Research Team. First of all, I will notice some important points. If you have any questions or comments, please scroll to the bottom of the page and click the Q&A tab. So please put the questions or comments in the box of the Q&A. Like this. And these are the following schedules of the AIP Open Seminars. Thank you again for joining today's programs. I'm the team leader of the Science Technology Society Research Team. The second speaker of today is Dr. Shinichi Fukuzumi, the researcher of our teams. Our research team focuses on the social aspects of the phenomena, not only the technologies. The goal of our team is to get the perspectives to coexist society and the people safely with new technologies, especially artificial intelligence. So we are concerning the social formation and acceptability of technology from social and cultural aspects, which means the macro aspects and the human aspects. We call these micro aspects. I myself focus on the macro aspects, social and cultural features, and Dr. Fukuzumi is treating the human aspects, the micro aspects of this technology and social relations. Well, one of the main keywords in our research team is social shaping of technology, or SST. This concept is quite familiar in the field of science and technology studies, and it is quite simple. Usually for the arguing during the arguing about the emerging technology like artificial intelligence or the robots, many argues about the how or what technology will change, or what is the impact on the societies. For example, if the robots and artificial intelligence will diffuse in the societies, how our job would be forced to be changed, and so on. What the legal systems, new legal systems is required, and so on. But the relation between technology and societies, and not the one-way process. This is the both-way process, like the society and the public spheres or the human beings would react to the emerging technologies and would change the new technologies, functions, and formations, and so on. So, but the many argues and only just the one way, the effect from technology to the society. So our team will rather focus on the other side of the effects, interaction, effects from the society to the technologies. So this process, social shaping of the technology, has been observed in many areas of technologies, like the telephone apparatus will drastically change its way of the use, and so on. Okay, so my talk consists of these three parts. The first part is the introduction. So I will argue about how we should regard the human beings in terms of we are talking the AI and the humans. And the second and the third parts are the report of the result of our surveys, which are conducted in the last March. The first surveys focuses on the algorithmic biases, and the second surveys focuses treating the our perception of the smart assistants usage. Okay, so let's start about the introduction part. Well, usually many thinkers and the argues and the critics is prefers these types of the framework. and they are setting human intelligence, human beings, and artificial intelligence is set in, it was put in this type of the framework, one-to-one scheme, the impossible war, and so on, human versus artificial intelligence. This is the another typical images, humans and one-to-one conflict. And so this article was forced to choose just one of the two, human intelligence or artificial intelligence. So the authors, they did not present the third options or the other options. And so this very narrow scheme is quite common and popular. So within thinking within this type of the scheme, so we had to choose one of the options, humans, right, the artificial intelligences. So sometimes the some people worried about this type of answers was chosen inevitably by the robots, and the artificial intelligences will defeat and replace the human beings in many scenes. And this is the another example of the real world. In the 2016, so it was 5 years ago. The time flies. As you know, that the AlphaGo defeated the Mr. Lee Sedol, the Go playing champion at that time. Of course, this is great. One of the greatest approval that the achievement, one of the greatest achievement of the development of deep learning technologies. Of course, it is clear. But the Mr. Lee was the grand champion of the Go playing. So he was the strongest person at that time in the Go playing. So long before the AlphaGo defeated the Mr. Lee, so the AI programs had already became stronger than the other persons than Mr. Lee. So Mr. Lee was these single individuals, but Mr. Lee was not the representative of all of the human beings. Human beings consist of the many individuals, many variable and the diverse individuals in terms of even for the ability to the Go playing. And the Go playing is the ability of the Go playing is not the only dimension or the measures of the to describing the human characters. So we also play the shogi or chess or card playing, and playing the basketball and the baseball and footballs. And we also play the piano or the guitars or the flute. And we also make some cuisine and cooking and so on. So on we are chatting of. So the human beings are not a single point. We should regard the human beings as like the population group of the individuals. This this kind of such view to the treating the human beings or the any types of the biological species is called the population thinking. Uh, so this term was introduced to the Dr. Ernst Mayr, one of the greatest evolutionary biologists in the 20th centuries, and he is also the philosopher of the biologist. And he emphasized that the population thinking is very important to regard the any biological species, including the Homo sapiens human beings. And he also emphasized that the population thinking is one of the essential points of the Darwinian evolution. So I think I would like to claim that the population thinking are also important to regard the human AI relations. Of course, not only the human beings, the artificial intelligence or the programs are also consist the populations. So we would like to know how the human sides regard the discrimination or the biases. So the first research was focuses on how humans feel or recognize the AI discriminations. Well, the algorithmic biases are quite the common concepts, and I hope all of you know these cases already. For example, the certain systems did not succeed, failed to recognize the some person's face, especially for the colored people, were misrecognized, and the sometimes misrecognized as and the to the other animals like gorillas and so on. And the other systems made the show the big bias, large biases in the gender issues in the recruitment, hiring in the human beings, and so on. So these are the facts. Programs, algorithms had the biases. But how about the human beings? Human beings had also the such type of biases or discriminations. So we think that we need to clarify how human beings recognize these types of the biases. This is the summary of the how the facial recognition systems did not work for the, especially for the facial recognition in the female persons in the with the darker skins. So every three systems did not succeed, did not fully succeed to recognize such person's face. And these photos represent the another type of the racial biases in the program called the COMPASS, which is a rather famous or notorious algorithm to predict the ratio of the second offense or subsequent offense of the certain people. Well, this picture shows that the right side person named Robert Cannon was rated the his risk of the multiple offense was medium 6, and the left side, the name the James Oliveri, who had the white faces, he was ranked as the 3. But the their history of the criminal record shows that the opposite, that the white guys had the more severe records of the prior offenses and the secondary offenses. But the prediction of from the COMPASS was the opposite. So the colored people were evaluated as much severe in the subsequent offenses. So the such it is fact that the program, artificial intelligence program, may have the biases. So how about human beings? This was our central topic. So we conducted the questionnaires via the internet in the last March. So at the first, we created the 4 cases to present the participants. These tools, case 1 and case 2, based on the real fact of the case. Case 1 is like that. Quote, a company's computer is equipped with an identity authentication system based on the image recognition, facial recognition. In this image recognition, the system recognized a person with a light skin tone, but not a dark skin tone. So the case one should be called basic cases. People with dark skin tone was not recognized. Case two was modified to these cases as the people with dark skin was misrecognized as an animal. So we can call it the animal case. This is also the same with the certain real cases. Case three is the modified version of the case two. In this case three, misrecognized as an animal is the same, but such problem was found during the process of development in the companies and have fixed already. So then after the launch or the release to the public, this product, such problem has not been observed occurred. So the case three is the fixed case. Well, the case four is the opposite situation to the case one. The light skin case. In the case four, the people with light skin tone was not recognized, but the dark skin tone was fully recognized. So we presented these four cases to the participants and then asked, did you think these cases were discriminatory or not? And this figure shows the summary of the results. Well, the blue bars represent the ratio of the participants who asked these cases are regarded as discriminatory. Well, in the case two, the ratio was higher. The more than 30% of the people recognized the case was discriminatory. But in the case three, the ratio was only the 15%. And in the case one and the case four, the ratios was just slightly larger than the 20%. And red bars show the ratio of the people who replied that these cases are not recognized as discriminatories. So in the case three, the 57.8% of the people replied this was not discriminatory. And in the case one and the case three, more than half of the people did not recognize that the case was discriminatory. And even in the case two, animal cases, nearly 40% of the people recognize this as not discriminatory. Well, honestly saying, this result was rather the ratio of the people who do not recognize these discriminatories as, but were quite much higher than we expected before the research. This table summarizes the relation of the answers from the people in each cases and with relation with the each variable, like the participants' genders and participant age and the participant attitude to the benefit and the discrimination. I will explain later in detail this variable. And the participant usage time of the information and the information technology in weekday, which means in the job, and the usage time of information technology in holiday, and the score of the interest and the preference to the information technology. I will also explain this later. So the whole tendency is not so clear. It is difficult to identify the some sort of the very clear tendencies in all of these phenomena. Well, the first point is the benefit of the discrimination. So what is the benefit of discrimination? So we tried to reveal the participants, people's attitudes toward recognitions, how to recognize them to the relation of discrimination and benefit. So we we presented these sentences, quote, if there is a more significant benefit, there can be some discriminations. Then asked, did you, whether did they agree this sentence support or not? Well, almost half of the people, 48% of the people replied no. So they did not allow the discrimination, even there is a much larger benefit. But 14% of the participants replied yes, which means they support the benefit if there are certain discriminations. And this tendency showed the clear gender differences. Male participants replied rather positive to this claim. So they are more tolerant to the discrimination in the case of if there is a benefit. While the female participants showed clearly the opposite tendencies. So the female people did not allow the discriminations. Well, I am a man, I'm a male, and so I'm really disappointed to find these results. And I'm sorry to all the male participants today, but this is the data. And second point is age. So the relation of the age and each cases were found except the case 3. And all 3 cases, 1 to 4, the tendency is quite similar. So I'll explain in the case 1. So we asked that case 1, basic cases. The people with dark skins was not recognized by the systems, and whether, as I asked whether they think this discriminatory or not. So the younger generations and the age 50s had the tendencies to the reply no. So that means that they are more acceptable to the discriminations. But the older peoples, more than 60s, have the tendencies to the more rigid to the discriminations. They did not allow the discriminations. But even these differences, not so big differences. So yes. And the last point is interest and preference to the information technologies. Well, also the tendencies are similar among the all 4 cases. So I focus just in the pattern in the case 1. Well, to measure the participants' affinity to information technologies, we gave the 2 questions. The first one is, how much are you interested in the information technologies? And second question is, how much do you like information technologies? And we combined the 2 scores, each scored from these questions. And we called it the affinity score to the information technology. And then, so the people who who had the lower scores of affinity to information technology showed the more tolerant to the discriminations. And the people who had the middle scores of information affinity to information technology showed the rather sensitive to the discriminations. And the people with high scores, the numbers are quite small, so we can say nothing about more clears. But these differences are also not so clear, not so rather vague, and it is very difficult to explain rationally. So we need some more researches, especially including the interviews, gathering the qualitative data. So these are the conclusions. A certain percentage of people were tolerant of algorithmic discrimination. this percentage was much higher than we expected before the researches. And the case 2, in the animal case, was perceived as the most discriminatory of the 4. And there was a gender difference in the response that some discrimination is acceptable if there is a greater benefit. And in this differences show the males are more supportive to this view more than females. And younger generations tended more tolerant of discrimination than the older, although the whole pattern of age differences was complicated or vague. So we need further researches about this point. And people who are more unfamiliar with information technologies showed more tolerant attitude toward discriminations. So we also need further research about this. Then the next topic is our perception of the smart assistants, where smart assistants like this are Siri or Alexa and Google Smart and so on. So we had the 2 research questions. The first one is the usage, how the usage of the smart assistants was related with the animism. Animism means the attitude toward the animals and living things. And the second question is how the gender biases was observed in the usage patterns. So we conducted another questionnaire in the last March. So this graph shows the overview of the answers. Well, the almost 1/3 participants, 37% replied they are using any of these smart assistants currently. And the 30% of the participants replied they had the experience of using any of these smart assistants, but they did not use currently. And the 1/3 people replied, so they had no experience of using any of it, but they knew it. So all of the participants, at least heard of the smart assistants. Well, these tables shows the purpose of the usage of the smart assistants. Sorry for written in Japanese because our research surveys itself carried out in the Japanese, so the result was shown in Japanese. The 65% of the users used smart assistants to know something, so research something like Google or something like that. And the 36% of the people used to play the music, and 1/4 was used to the access to the other certain applications. And 15% used to the calling to the telephones or send the short message to someone. And 13% use the chatting, this 19 people. So they use the smart assistants for chatting when they are feel boring, some around the 70%, and the 65% use just the fiddling, so smart assistants to test which kind of the task they smart assistants can do, and so on. Well, our first research question is the relation of the usage of smartphone and the smart assistants and the animals, the attitude of the animals. So we asked do they like the living things or not? So this graph summarize the result. And there are slightly larger portion of the positive answers in the current users, but the difference are not so big. So the past users and the non-users are also the certain ratio of the positive to the living animals. So the difference are not significant. And this question is also the similar, asking a similar one. So asking that do or did you have pets? The tendency are the same to the question one. There are a slight slight difference in the current users or the positive, but the difference is not clear. So but we found the rather a big difference in the gender recognition with the smart assistants. And so we asked that which gender do you think smart assistant is? And nearly the half of the people replied the female. The smart assistant is a female, and 40% replied genderless. Just 10% recognized it as a male. And these tendencies strongly related with the user's experiences. Uh, current user participants, current using participants who use smart assistant currently show the much more higher ratio in the replying recognizing the smart assistants as their females. And the participants who had no experience of the smart assistants showed no difference between the recognition as females and genderless. And this graph shows the result of the gender recognition of the voice of the smart assistants. Which gender do you prefer for smart assistant's voice was the question. And around the 1/3 of the people recognized it as female voices. And 28% the genderless, and just 6% recognized it as 6%. So the differences in terms of the pattern of the usage of the participants are similar, quite rather similar to the whole recognition of the smart assistants, but the difference is not so clear. Even in the participants with no experience of using of the smart assistants show the higher ratio of the answering the voice recognition of the base of the females. This graph shows the nickname. We asked did they have the nickname? But only 14 people gave the nickname on the 14 of the 687. So these are the examples of nicknames, but I'm afraid the number is too small, so we can say nothing about that. This table shows the cross table with affinity to the smart assistants and the gender recognition of smart assistants. So there is a differences, significant differences. The users with the positive affinity to smart assistants had the tendency to recognize the smart assistants of the females rather than genderless. And the people had the neutral affinity, or rather a negative, so they didn't like the smart assistants, regards the smart assistants as a more genderless existence. And the user's age has also the relation with the affinity of smart assistants. Users' gender did not show this quite a significant difference in the affinities. Both of the male and female users shows rather positive or the neutral to smart assistants. But in terms of the age, younger than the age 30s, and the older ones, the older than age 70, show the more preferable to the more preparation to the smart assistants. the middle ages people, age 30s, 40s, and 50s, and 60s showed the tendency to the rather neutral attitude toward the smart assistants. And the people of the age 30s even showed rather high scores in the negative attitude than other generations. So these are summaries of our researches of smart assistants. So we could observe this right correlation in the usage of smart assistant preference to animals. So the relation between the smart assistants usage and the attitude of animalistic attitude was not clear. But the gender bias in recognition to smart assistants was clear, and especially its voice. Many of the people recognized the voice was a female and female's voice. And the degree of the affinity to smart assistants was not different among users' gender, but the was different among in terms of the user's age. So the younger generation and older people preferred smart assistants to the middle-aged. But I don't know why. It is very difficult to explain the reasonable answers. And we also gathered some textual data, which the users describe the smart assistants. And so I hope we will be able to get some qualitative aspects of the usage of recognition of smart assistants. And now the analysis is undergoing. So I would like to show the more detailed images about smart assistants using. So these are the general discussions for both of the research 1 and research 2. Well, the first of all, we wish to be more careful in the analysis or in the treatment of the algorithm biases. Surely there is algorithm biases, but some of them are possible to caused from the human biases. So algorithm biases may not be just algorithmic. And we need for further researches, maybe the more systematic researches on the relationship between familiarity with technology and the tolerance of discriminatory biases. And I think that unconscious gender bias in the recognition in information technology might be more substantial than we expected. So we are planning to the further research, including qualitative interviews for these points. Thank you very much. That's all for my talk. And now I have the one question from the Dr. Wen, Yueshan Wen, regarding people's react to AI discrimination. He is wondering how people with different cultural backgrounds respond to this survey. So do I have any plan to expand the survey into East Asian or Western countries for comparative analysis in the future? Okay, so for answering to the first point, the cultural backgrounds. Yes, I am very interested in about that. So the answer to the second questions, I'd like to expand this researches to expand to the, especially for the East Asian countries and the European countries. And so, Dr. Wen, I'm pleased if you could help us to these comparative studies. But I also am afraid that it is quite very subtle and the sensitive questions. And so just a very little changes of the wording might cause the great difference in the answering patterns. So the translation of the question is very difficult, and we need to be very careful. So we need the careful preparation for this comparative studies. But the yes, I want to expand these studies for the cross-cultural, cross-cultural perspectives. Thank you for your question. Oh, I have one from the Thomas Lutkovsky. Thank you for the questions. How result significance was calculated in your project? Was the subject sample representing a general or any narrow population group? Yes, this surveys was the subject of the survey was the general people in Japan. So I think there no biases in the area and the gender or the some background or the experience of the education. So the excuse me, so I cannot grasp the first point. How result significance was calculated in the project? So significance was calculation means the statistical Mr. Rutkovsky, if you can speak in the directory, so could you inform something about that? So
yes, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so you mentioned several that the differences were significant or not. So I meant,
yeah.
I wonder, how did you calculate?
Yes. Yes. So basically, I used the chi-square test.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah, sure. Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay. And the background of the subject was general people. Thank you for your questioning. Okay, so if there is any other questions, I'd like to introduce the second speakers, Dr. Shinichi Fukuzumi. Fukuzumi-san, now the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much for introduction. My name is Shinichi Fukuzumi from Riken AIP Center. And I'd like to talk about two topics. First is the quality model use of system product and service. And second is the relationship between kind of the work, task, and praise through teleworks. Firstly, I'd like to talk about the quality in use issue and the proposal. In general, quality, a famous quality terms is ISO 9000 and ISO 14000. 90,000 is a quality. It's a quality. Sorry. Quality. 14 is not quality. ISO 9000 qualities are almost quality, but in this case, its quality is mainly focused to software and the software engineering softwares. And the background and system and software products are widely used in our life, influenced by using accent. Not only their direct use. Direct use meaning directly interaction with interaction machines, but also organization and society. And to be control of these influence as much as possible is the social responsibility for enterprises. For example, electric power supply company. This company's objective is supply electric power supply stability and use of Hindi companies are used in the operation by operator in the central control room. Influence on the operator usability is mainly important ones. And influence on user and organization. If user in the central control room operation error interrupt the supply of the electricity due to operation error, and influence on customers. and they cannot use any electric appliance due to interruption of supply of electricity. And influence on public due to traffic jam caused by stop signals, increase exhaust gas. And these influence caused by operations error. So usability is one example. Another example, public bus by self-driving. An objective is to transfer passengers to object bus stop safely. And use, in this case, use operation by operator in the central control room, not in the bus. And influence on operator usability. And influence on users and organizations and stop served by human error. Bus do not operate. And influence on customers could not ride on of a bus. And influence on public increase of the interface gas or noise. And objectives and definition of the quality model. And here, quality model means software engineering. Is defined in ISO IC 25010. And here, the quality of a system is the degree to which the system satisfies the stated and the implied needs of its various stakeholders and thus provides value. So, the purpose for dealing quality in use model is that manufacturers and managers are able to measure, evaluate, and improve quality by using of systems product. And this figure shows the quality use model defined in 2011, defined about 10 years ago. In here, in quality use model code 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These 5 boxes called the quality characteristics. In here, the quality characteristics is effectiveness, efficiency, satisfaction, freedom from risk, and context coverage. Previous quality model is here, but here is a new concept of usability defined as 2018. And the usability defined in here, a system, product, or service, and based on these context of use, users, environment, and resources, and goals and tasks. And system, product, service are used under these context of use. And outcome use is usability, effectiveness, efficiency, satisfaction, and so on. So, sorry, yes, here. This is in this model, effectiveness, efficiency, satisfaction is same as usability element. But in this usability element, mainly focus to the use here. Use, what is outcome use is emphasizes. And use, of course, use is used by operators. Or so usability is mainly focused to operators, direct interaction. So previous model is also focused on the indirect user, direct interaction. Oh, sorry. First, okay. But influenced by using them extended to not only the direct use, but also organization and society. So we had to change and modify the quality use models. And, okay. And this figure shows the classification of stakeholders. Previously, mainly focused on direct users with direct operating as an operators. But there are many type of stakeholders. Well, here is the customers. Primary goal is the customers. Customers include the primary users and indirect users. And here is the organization with responsibility as a member of organization using this product system service and has a responsible in this organization, and secondary user or other stakeholders. And outside of these stakeholders, influence others are the public. Other stakeholder, public or society, we call it society. And in here, sometimes operators and customers are similar, but sometimes these are different. Cases in station, yeah, station annual. No, not a station, but also desk also. We look by ticket, train ticket, by using online network web service or ticket vendor machine. In this case, operators and customers same, but a customer goes to a station and station to ticket counter. In this case, operator is the ticket counter staffs, and customer do not operate the system. So in this case, operator and customers are different. And this figure shows the stakeholder and their needs. As in this case, stakeholder, operators, customers, organization, and society. When using a product and system service, operators operator needs effectiveness use, efficiency use, and satisfaction, the accessibility, and avoidance of harm from use, trust, safety, privacy, and security, and health. And the customers are similar to operators' needs. And organization management, their needs is efficiency on business, benefit, brand image operation, effectiveness on business, and satisfaction for stakeholders. Satisfaction for stakeholders, and not organization. And harm, and trust, reliability, safety. And society needs activity of citizen and effectiveness for public health and environment, and efficiency for public economy. So, and in this, here is about usability or utilities. It's a merit for using this product system service. And there is a dependability or acceptability for using this product system service. It's also small characteristics. And this figure shows relationship between the stakeholder needs and quality characteristics. Here is responsible organization, operators, customers, and society. Is a okay, sorry. In who operators, effectiveness, efficiency, satisfaction, safety, privacy, and trust and so on. Same as here. And what customers here. And the responsible organization here, and society here. So grouping this, so this we can call this as beneficiariness. And here we can call the freedom from risk. And here we can call it acceptability. And here, this is characteristics, and this is subcharacteristics has usability, acceptability, business and mission suitability, and utility. And in the freedom from has these subcharacteristics: avoidance harm from use, freedom from economical risk, health risk, environmental social risk, and human life risk. And the acceptability has experience, trustworthiness, and compliance is included. So totally, we propose a new model of quality use. Quality characteristics are beneficiariness, freedom from risk, and acceptability, and has these subcharacteristics. And how to use the quality use model. And the model and characteristics give manufacturer indices to measure and evaluate quality use. However, these measurement value and evaluation value depend on use by users. Unlike product quality, it is difficult to describe quality in use as specification. So to improve quality use, important point, supporting tools for using system and product. Clear procedure for using system and product. Educational training for using system and product. For example, uh, COX exhaust level by driving car. A COX exhaust level is strictly regulated, and manufacturer develops some system to follow the regulation. And this could be described as product specification. However, dependent driving, COX exhaust quantity cannot be kept in this regulation level. But driving, how to drive, cannot be described in specification. Of course, yes. So to clear these issues, manufacturer provide a way to drive, tools and manual, education, materials, or controls and CX exhaust quality. This is example. Sorry, the first. Electric power supplies companies use operation by operators, but to reduce these negative influence, this negative influence, interrupt the supply of electricity due to operation error. Cannot use customer cannot use any electricity appliance due to interruption of supply of electricity. Uh, due to traffic jam caused by stop signal, increase exhaust gas. To reduce this negative influence, education and training for operators and prompt. This is one just important. Prompt announcement for customers and the local government. Another example, public bus by self-driving. Uh, we show some negative influence. To reduce this negative influence, education and training for operators and prompt announce customers and local government. Okay. These first topics. And we could talk the second topics about influence of telework, remote work to workers. Current issues. Background. Before COVID-19, telework does not spread so much. But with and after not COVID, COVID-19, telework is mandatory requirement and drastically change the situation and many problems which do not assume beforehand appeared. And problems. And there are many problems cannot be covered by traditional VDT, visual display terminals guidelines. And work environment, a house is not suited for work. And workload, unnatural postures, fatigue by borders on and off. And issues affected by introducing telework is not clear, and influence of workers is not certain. And domestic foreign ABW, activity-based working, is activated. Global trend propose a classification between activity and task from UK and Northern Europe. And Belgian and company, the Netherlands companies, has started a business about consultation of ABW in Asia and Japan. And this APW is activity-based working, and activity and make materials, planning, or correct information, discussion. According to these activities, working style changes. It's ABWs. And this company is consulting to the Asia and Japan. And the theme of the international conference about office design environment changed to the service and design. And in Japan, Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industries and the Future Office project has started. And some enterprise present ABW in their office. And a meeting ABW standardization project also started. And UK and ISO working group asked a new proposal about ABW to Japan. And Beldford and Company agrees with Japanese proposal. So with these committees, we started this research. The objectives. Investigation of the actual situation about ABW, the classification of work style, and developing guideline for work style, input to ISO or academic society or industrial community. And indexing or introducing a effect on form work style. Indexing is very important. To be able to select with agreement to executives, employees, and families. And in this presentation, I'd like to hear investigation actual situation and about indexing. indexing. First is investigation. And this table shows the relations between the main task and workplace. Here's a question of tables. And here is the office. In the office, there are many kind of office work area in the office and home. Personal desk, free desk, meeting area, concentration area, meeting room, library, restaurant, cafe, kitchen, restroom, shower room, and terrace lounge and also. In home, personal room, kitchen dining, living room, toilet room, bathroom, bedroom, children's. And the other, I asked the other area called the third place. For example, vehicle, public area, library, restaurant, cafe, and co-working space. And here's the task. Make materials, investigation, collect information, idea planning, delivers, report, one-on-one meeting, management task, and so on. And we asked this question to about 180 persons. As a result here, and making material investigation planning, the task is found at various place to investigation, planning, and making materials. And desk free address, not only this, but also open areas concerning meeting room. But in home, investigation, planning, in home, the personal area, and the living also. But planning, toilet or bathrooms was also used. And other place, vehicle, investigation, the vehicle is one of candidate places, public spaces. And planning also vehicle and co-working area. And the making materials used in maybe as a personal computer or in term devices. So major work in the free address area and here is personal desk and co-working areas. So in here, the characteristics in the home, not only personal room, the kitchen, but also any other area, for example, here is a candidate work areas in home. And this is the actual station of the introduction of the reform of work styles. And before investigate this, firstly, we asked about 10,000 people. These rows, 10,000 people. And the result here, adopted telework is about 36% or so. And about activity-based working, known and heard of about only here. And adopt online meeting, only here, only only this. And can you work your task outside the office? Yes, only 3.6%. So the ratio of adoption of the network online meeting are very low. Uh, and the reason how to be investigated. And uh, from this result, we asked uh, about 1,000 people, include here, about the indices of the telework and remote works efficiency. It is the influence of introduction of telework, remote work, frequency of duties instructions, is executive answers, is manager and general staffs. And executives, after introducing telework, remote work, the interactions are increased, but for manager and general staffs, not so. Not so increased. This means executive feel that the frequency of indication is increased, but employees feel that the ratio of receiving. This means that executive came to be conscious of themselves orders. They executive usually ask usually required any task to the manager and general, but usually they not be conscious. Not the telework, the remote work environment, executive has to instruct the indicator required any works clearly. So this result, executives came to be conscious of themselves orders. And this figure shows total work time. And executive feels total work time decreased. But managers, general staffs, relatively not so low. Of course, they feel the degrees, but not so much to executive the feeling. That is a problem. And manager, the general staff, feel increases rather than executives. Here is the vacation acquisition rate. Executives said much increased, but manager and the general staff not so. This is considered that a border on and off disappears. So managers, general staff get a vacation, get a holiday, but during the holiday, they maybe they work and so on. And this figure shows the change of the amount of outcomes. Executives outcomes outcomes increases 12% or so, and decreases 70% so. And the managers, general, their own feeling is completely opposite. They feel decreases 12% or so in here, and they feel increased about 18 or 19% or so. So the evaluation to members with both is up to become severe. It's quality of outcomes. And this one, a similar result of the amount of outcomes. The relation to members with both is up to become severe. Executives feels quality of outcome not change or just decrease. But manager, just general staffs, quality is just higher, increasing. So conclusions. Telework has not spread widely yet. So we have to analyze these reasons and how to promote more. And there are many candidate items for indexing the effect of interest. Indexing reformed work style is the total work time, rest time, vacation, and the amount of core outcomes and quality of outcomes. The evaluation are different depend on the position to role. So it is important to consider them when indexing. Of the related project, but quality use ISO IC JTC1 SC7W6 system software quality requirements and evaluation. About work style, ISO TC159 SC4W6 controls workplace and environmental requirements. That's all. Thank you very much. If you have any question, you input a Q&A box. Okay. By Wen-san. To AI-enabled products, is there any specific concern we should be when access to product usability? No, good questions. My understanding, recently AI is not a special items. So usually we used any AI technology or inputted AI product and system service, not consciously. So my understanding, there's no difference using product without AI and using AI.
As for that questions from the Wen-san, I think that some autonomous learning programs can adjust the characters for each person. So it might increase the usabilities, but sometimes the autonomous ability of the such artificial intelligence or something like that. So may what to say? So how to give the suitable matching between the user's favorites and the such autonomous decision. So if the autonomous program thinks that these features are good for these users, for example, me, but I myself may not always accept that usability is good for. So if there occurs some difference or the gaps between the decision between the users and the programs, autonomous programs, how we should treat and adjust or resolve these differences or the gaps. That might be the problem. So.
Thank you very much for support, Sakura sensei. And firstly, I expect usability is mainly focused direct interaction. So user AI directly. So recently, user do not using any system not consciously. So not so different between within AI and without AI. But of course, there's any other problem, other issues. For example, LC or so, very important problems, but not related to the usability.
So if there is no other questions, I have one question for the Fukusei-san. Well, how do you think that the future near future of the telework. So I mean the after the ending of the such pandemic of the COVID. So the I'm afraid your data may shows rather negative or pessimistic future of the teleworks. I mean that the backlash will occur after the corona ending, that the many of the styles of the working would back to the indeed just before the corona situation. The telework, the ratio of the telework would be very small. I'm afraid from your data, but how would you think about that? Telework is increasing, or just the temporal phenomena?
We promote to adopt the telework much more, and it is more much important here. Indexing is much important and show the effect, positive effect to introducing the telework and select with agreement of the executive, employees, and family. The current data only agreement of the executive. Employees and the families not not agreed by teleworking. For example, um, almost a day, employees stay in home, so um, stay home, and employees and the families, and uh, sometimes has a stress also, but it's not negative influence, but positive influence. Positive influence. Um, Conversations increase, family time increase. This is very positive influence. So, uh, employed and executive family shares these positive effect. So after that, we telework is more spread spread. To promote this, we have to prepare the indexing the effect of this telework. Is that my answer?
So the we need some other what do you say task that if we want to diffuse the telework widely. So it's not only just a problem of the working styles. We need some environment that the places for suitable for the other than the home or the third place or a co-working place and so on. Kusumi-san, you have another question from Mr. Hosono.
Okay. During telework, would you think a real robot? Would you think a real robot in front of the screen is effective to communicate? Real robot. It depends on the real robot role. This real robot role is your boss. My opinions are the effective, negative effective, because this robot see your workers every time. It is very hard pressure for workers. But real robot is your partner. It is sometimes positive effect for the communicating. So my opinions depend on the real robot roles. Is it okay, Hosono-san? Thank you very much. And the other questions?
If there is no other questions, we will wrap up the sessions.
Okay. Thank you very much. Also, I'd like to close our sessions. today's sessions. Thank you very much for joining, listening, and discussing.
Thank you. Thank you for
Thank you
joining.
very much.
Thank you very much.